all of the output that we're going to get out from this action lab. Just want to remind all of you, the goal of this first action lab is to connect all of you to the meaning of life economy. What does it mean to you in your context on the women-led development topic? What it is, what it isn't, and what are the existing solutions out there, and what are the barriers, and how are those barriers should be addressed. We have our keynote speakers, 7 of them. One will be joining online. Can you confirm that? One will be joining online, right? All good? She's there, all right, she's already there. Our session will be divided into 3 parts. The first one, I will invite our keynote speaker to share for 4 to 5 minutes. And then we're going to do an open discussion where you all can put your comment, ask a question. And then after that, our repertoire will take note of all the discussion happening in this room. Without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Meena Pendi, the Assistant Professor of OIS, to open the remark.
Thank you, Kusuma. I'm Dr. Meena Pandey from RIS, leading think tank of India. It is an autonomous body of Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, and I'm honored and privileged to be part of the Global Summit on Life Economy. I'm thankful to Professor Sachin Chaturvedi, DGRIS, for giving me this opportunity to be in this session on women-led development, a subject very dear to my heart. It has 3 potential components: women enterprises, care economy, SSGs, and cooperatives. As you are all aware that India's G20 presidency in 2023 has sensitized the whole world about the significance of women-led development, their role in life economy also, which has taken center stage in India. It would be appropriate to mention here that RIS is a part of the core member of T20 group, like other engagement groups like Women 20 and all. India has strongly prioritized its commitment from the shift from women development to the women-led development. What does that women-led development means? That is to create a world of equality, quality, equity, where every woman lives with dignity. Women-led, according to me, what I have understood, that women-led economy means that women actively participate in the growth of economy through education. They can create jobs and livelihood for themselves. Women, what India believes in, that women are not mere beneficiaries of welfare programs or social protection schemes, but they are drivers of economic growth and drive the development path. They are no longer recipient but are the active participant in the development discourse. Our Honorable Prime Minister has called a strong emphasis on the approach of development transformation that recognize the role of women in development, be it in life or in every sector of the world. As women-led development in India is a main theme of the G20 presidency, economically empowering women and closing the gender gap is one of the main drivers to achieve Agenda 2030 of Sustainable Development Goals. What we have seen, that research has shown that when women are educated, when they are economically empowered, they have a positive impact on children, household, societies, and nation also. When women work, economies grow. This boosts productivity, increases economic diversity, and income equality. For them to be fully economically empowered, the world needs to take big steps in ensuring their livelihood, either through employment, first through education, employment, or entrepreneurship. In this forum, we are mainly discussing on entrepreneurship and care economy, and after that, self-help groups. if I'm not wrong, I have read, according to the UNICEF report, 90% of jobs worldwide have a digital component. But in developing nations, there is still a 32.9% gap in internet access between women and men. We all know about the challenges which women are facing. Multifarious factors are responsible for gender gaps. Structural issues, be it socio-cultural, and sufficient access to health, education, nutrition, dropout rates, and number of challenges we are facing. Gender pay gaps, lower skilled jobs, less wages. Women spend more time on unpaid care work, and domestic violence is almost a worldwide phenomenon. We are talking here about the education also. To begin, for women empowerment or for women-led economy, women-led development, my submission is that education is the key for women empowerment. Here in India, we are thinking that it's 100% enrollment in primary education. It's not that thing, because we have an agency called ASER, ASER, Annual Survey of Education Report. According to them, especially in rural areas, a girl child who is studying in class 5 is not able to read the class 2nd syllabus or books. This is the question of learning outcomes. So apart from this UNICEF report, and apart from this, there is a World Economic Forum which brings out every year a global gender gap report. In 2023, at the current rate of progress, they have given that almost in every year, numbers are almost same, that it will take around 131 years to reach full parity. According to this report index, no country in the world has achieved full gender parity. Although the top 9 countries, even they have closed at least 80% of their gap. For the 14th year, Iceland, it takes the top position in the gender parity, but still they are 10% behind is that. It also continues to be the only country to have closed more than 90% of its gender gap. Women continue to face higher unemployment rates. Even when women secure employment, they often face substandard working conditions. Significant portion of recovery in employment since 2020 can be attributed to informal employment. Informal employment, there comes the role of cooperative society and self-help groups. But I'll be touching on entrepreneurship first, because I'll just list out what are the challenges this women entrepreneurs are facing. First of all, education is the key thing. Second is the access to information and access to finance, credit, and training and financing. There is a problem of digital literacy skill. There is a problem of digital financial skills, knowledge of online platforms, cyber security literacy, lack of traditional forms of collateral to banks, because they don't have land ownership, they don't own houses, they don't own fixed assets, there's a lack of family support for them. So how can, when all these challenges they are facing, how can we just think of that women entrepreneurs, they can grow? And when they get the loan, there are extensive paperwork, complicated terminology, odd hours of bank operation. These are some of the challenges which I have highlighted. And now it's not only that we have to just talk about the challenges, we just have to mention that at least for them, what world can do that? We need to simplify the procedures for obtaining loan. They should have access to information networks, they should have access to marketing, they should know about the probable markets, they should know the supply demand, and also, and apart from this, there should be advocacy for women entrepreneurs. There should be awareness in their own regional languages. They should reduce paperwork, more time for remit. Loans are there, but there should be more time for repayment also. Apart from this, this month only I was in Dhaka, so there were concerns about that for safety of women and girls in school, colleges, and in the office space also. So for that, we need to sensitize men and boys. And there are, apart from this, there are discriminatory laws. What I have, apart from, this is about my women entrepreneurship, and because of the paucity of time, we have eminent panelists and this thing. I'll just touch upon the care economy. That is, we are, for care economy, every woman in this earth facing the problem of balancing work and personal life. It's a major challenge for women. As they are the sole caregivers, they have an unfair share of family responsibility. My time is there? Yes. Okay, no need. In 2019, when we were not having this G20 presidency, then I wrote a paper in our G20 digest in 2019, and there I touched upon the issue of care infrastructure. In that paper, I just highlight that according to World Bank's Women Business and the Law database, out of 189 economies, 104 economies have unfavorable policies against women that restrict them to work during nights or in some specific sectors like manufacturing, construction, energy, water and transportation, sometimes on women's freedom and movement. But we are talking about care infrastructure right now, but we have very good examples for care infrastructure and parental leave. There is one integrated national care system that established in 2015 in Uruguay. It has clearly demonstrated how the co-responsibility between the state, community, market, and families is important for gender division of labor within the household, and also for the paid work, that is national care system. And this national care system in Uruguay, it became a national electoral agenda also during the 2010 and 2015. If you permit, yes. I'll just stop it.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Dr. Veena. So next, I would like to invite Professor Asmita Joshi, Associate Professor, Architecture, BNCA.
Yeah, I'll be here. Can this be displayed?
Maybe you can speak.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning all. I am Professor Asmita Joshi from the prestigious Maharshi Karve Stri Shikshan Samstha, and it is in Pune. And today I take this opportunity to present Maharshi Karve Stri Shikshan Samstha itself as a case in field of empowering women through education, illustrating organization's significant contribution. We will go through what MKSSS does, and we'll see what all answers, whatever the questions that we have, whether they are covered or whether we need to do something more. So this is, again, I am also representing the Maharshi Karve Stri Shikshan Samstha's Institute of Sustainability and Development Studies, which we have conceived last year. And again, this we'll go through the, briefly through the presentation, so that, okay. So this MKSS was founded in 1896 in Pune by Maharshi Karve, and it started as home for widows, and then it began the things started rolling, and now after 125 years, we have almost 35,000 students, girl students, studying at our samstha. And we have 65 educational and other units under its umbrella. So to start with, we have primary, secondary, and high school education. This is since 1896, where we provide, we are committed to give scholarships for needy and deserving students, supporting their educational pursuits. And we have been establishing Bal Gruha since 1934, catering to girls, referred by Child Welfare Committee. And in this dedicated effort, we also empower visually impaired students. We have blind unit for them. Additionally, we have gender equality by providing free education for 30% of our girls. Then we have higher education institutes where we have been pioneering, because our Cummins College is known worldwide. We have Art and Commerce College, Engineering College in Pune and Nagpur, Architecture College, Vocational Training Institute, Management Institute, Fashion Technology, Nursing Colleges in Pune and Nagpur, Vai, Satara, Ratnagiri. We have Mechatronics, Laser Technology, Media Studies, Data Science, and Skill Development Studies too. So we offer a diverse array of short skill building and vocational courses designed to empower girls from all socio-economic backgrounds, providing them with valuable skills for personal and professional development. Then we provide hostel facilities for higher education students, then also CWC students and working women. We have other units such as health club, bakery, Suswat canteen, this chain of canteen coming up in Pune itself, then a medical department, then a Sangopan creche, which is again further enhancing its commitment to health and well-being and community support with the creche. So this is outreach that is across Maharashtra. So Samstha is there reaching out to the 3rd and 4th tier cities. That is the primary focus, that is the semi-rural settings. Recognizing the transformative power of formal education in these areas, the organization envisions these regions as catalysts for nurturing a generation that is led by women. Currently, several campuses are under development, aspiring to replicate the expansive success of our Pune campus in extending educational opportunities and fostering empowerment across diverse geographical settings. So these are the settings in and around Maharashtra. But that's not all. We have international outreach. There are more than 70 overseas and tie-ups, and we are also kind of totally in line with the United Nations Academic Impact initiative that aligns education of higher institutions of higher education with research and scholarship. And under UNAI, BNC, where I am the professor, we have completed 20 odd programs with overseas university, which are addressing SDGs in the realm of built environment. So these are a few to name. That's noteworthy projects which are like creation of sustainable houses in Shinyanga, Tanzania, then using local material and local technology, introduction of dry compost toilets in remote areas of Lusaka, Zambia, and innovative use of shipping container. So this is UNA, and this is our 12th year working with this particular organization. Then furthering the work, our sustainability wing now is undergoing a transformational change. We have so many activities done in these 125 years that we cannot showcase that. So we are coming coming up with SDG dashboard for our own MKSs, so that each and every unit that does some work, it is displayed on that dashboard. And this Institute of Sustainability and Development Study is doing that work. Again now, again in the last 1 year, the progress is that we have become co-leads at India Flying Labs, that is technology for a social good, that's the drone for social good. We are the partners of it. And we got funding from Botnar, which is a Swiss organization, and we did trainings for youth. 236, we trained 236 students from Jaipur, Gujarat, then Maharashtra, remote areas of Gujarat and Maharashtra. So that is what we have done. So this is the Flying Lab networks that we are currently working into. Coming to this, because the ISDS was formed last year, we had this opportunity of working with RIS and Yojak, and we had the roundtable conference of civil society organization that was arranged at Pune. These are the 30 CSOs came from all over India. They were there in MKSSs. We got their guidance. We got their good blessings, I would say. So Sachin ji and Vinay ji, they were there at the round table, and we are a part of LiFE. Lifestyle for environment. We have been a part, and we have worked for lifestyle for environment, habitat and life vertical, and we have submitted the report to Sachin ji, and now we are looking at Global Learning Alliance for Lifestyle for Environment. LiFE is our responsibility. Again, this is all women-led, I would say. And the last, just a moment. Sorry. In conclusion, MKSS stands as a holistic example of women-led development, impacting thousands of women and leaving a profound imprint on livelihoods and life economy. Its comprehensive approach and tangible outcomes make it compelling case study for discussion and inspiration at the Global Summit of Life Economy, underscoring the transformative potential of empowering women for sustainable societal advancements. Thank you. Thank you all for your giving me ear.
Thank you, Professor. Next, I would like to invite Professor Pam Rajput, Professor Emeritus from Punjab University.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks to RIS for giving me the opportunity to be here this afternoon midst you and share my thoughts. Dear fellow panelists, we have to be quick to introduce myself. I am a gender advocate, policy analyst. I have been associated with the G20 processes since 2017, especially associated with W20. And also, since we are talking about women-led development in this session, I have been, training women to be leaders both at the grassroots level as well as the national level. We have had women's parliament also, for that matter. Having said that, I want to quickly, because data has been shared, I will not touch the data, but I do want to say that Professor Chaturvedi ji was talking about paradigm shift, right? So when we are having this women-led development, clearly there is a paradigm shift in that, and that we really, in fact, we need a full session on that. What do we mean by women-led development? Not just say it casually, for that matter. I will leave it for another session to talk about it, but I do believe that it means that you are not to be just beneficiaries, but you have to play an active role, whether it is planning, decision-making, distribution of resources from local to the national and even international level. So my one submission, because I thought this was a session for sharing actionable points, and already the setting has been done, I'll come straight to actionable points. And in that actionable point, I'm sure RIS is going to prepare what you call as the roadmap to life economy. So if the roadmap to life economy is to be made, gender should be central for that matter, right? Not that in the two panels that in the morning we had about 10 to 12 panelists, there were only 3 persons who talked about women or gender, for that matter. So gender issues have to be central in that. Having said that, as I said that I'll talk about the actionable points, but since she talked about entrepreneurship and finances, I do want to say, that ecosystem for entrepreneurship is now very strong in India, and I'll not go into the details and data, I have everything, but I did a study on PEVC, that is private equity and venture capital. And what we found, it was very difficult to get data. We studied about 84 companies over there, and their share is very, very less. Those who are interested, I can, share the link to the book, which has just come into the market, which has this article. Now, coming to the actionable point. One, of course, I've already said, and the second is, I want to talk about women cooperatives. Three issues have been mentioned in this thing that we should be speaking about. One is cooperatives, and the other is entrepreneurship, and the third is care economy. So taking up first women cooperative. India has had a long history of very strong women cooperative movement, particularly in southern India for that matter. But for some time we didn't hear. Now the ministry has set up women cooperative, ministry is there, right? So there is going to be a lot of focus on that. So in this regard, if the actionable point, Binaji kindly note, we will suggest that for the sake of food security, for the sake of organic farming or green farming as you are calling, even horticulture, we should promote women farmers cooperatives even in horticulture for that matter. So our recommendation is the formulation of women thing. I'll just take one point in each of these. Care economy. Now care economy is too important, and we have realized this during the COVID movement. Now in this care economy, when we are talking about investment in care economy is very, very important for that matter, be it, in terms of the leave, care leave or whatever, it may be in terms of financial or it may be in terms of policies that you have. So what we really need is that care economy must be linked to macroeconomy. That is one of my suggestions. Secondly, the amount of work that they do is still not accountable toward GDP. Of course, we are not in favor of GDP as the indicator of the development of the nation, as has been said in the previous session. But even then, if it is there, whether you talk at gross national happiness or you cross this thing, it must be accounted towards care economy. And the third, we talk about 3 R's. Right? Recognize, reduce, and distribute. But still we need to have clear-cut policies on these 3 R's, and particularly I would like to talk about redistribute, that we have to have policies where clearly there is, distribution of work. I was sharing with Sita Prabhuji in the morning, and I was remembering Professor Dr. late M.S. Swaminathan, who said if men were to carry water, I'll take a minute and a half. You're not, I have my time. So if he said, if men were to carry water on their heads, the problem of water would have been solved long time back. But even today that water carrying fuel, and it's all, being, so we have to think in terms of policies for redistribution of. Now, women entrepreneurship, I will not go into much detail, data is there, and we have that data brought out. But in our own country, we have beautiful examples which need to be amplified. Yesterday only when Kamla Bhasin Award was being given, there was a woman from Kerala, right? What was the work she was doing? She was a mason, but with her knowledge she turned into what she called as sustainable construction technology, right? So this sustainable construction technology, and now she's training, 500 women over there. So I think this, my study also shows that finances are not available. So we should try to provide even the individuals, for finances to, have these kinds of programs and have such kind of a skilling. And I tell you, this program of in Kerala that we have, we still have not been able to replicate in other countries. 2 more points and I close. One is that in our country, we have a democratic, investment. Democratic investment in human beings, and that is with the election of 1.4 million women in the local bodies, right? So my recommendation over here will be that we should come out with a primer, not that they do not know, but we should come out with a primer on life economy, and if that primer on life economy, we can train these women. And Sachinji was yesterday talking about having research centers with the universities and all that. So I would say if you are trying to tie up with the universities, one of course should be research, and other could be, can they take on the responsibility of connecting with these elected women for that matter and coming out with, specific skills and all that for this thing. And most important is that when we are talking about life economy, we are also talking about climate change, right? Now, climate change affects women more than even men. And we also, I'll take half a minute and close, because I keep have to look at that, man. So many things I have to say, but I'm cutting short. Climate change, right? Now, women adopt what we call as adaptive strategies. Now, nobody is talking about those adaptive strategies. So it is high time that our policy makers, right? One of my students has just finished her PhD thesis on adaptive strategy, and the examiner is sitting over here. So we have to think in terms of valuing those adaptive strategies, bringing them into policy initiatives, and also you see, when it comes to documenting all that, we need to document, we need to have gender disaggregated data. Even as of date, what women do, how women suffer, there is not the enough of. So life economy is linked to well-being, right? And well-being is not only that I am well-clad. Well-being means also I should be mentally this thing. And now that we are these days, having 16 days of activism, right? ये शुरू है 10 दिसंबर तक चलेगा, 16 days of activism. Can we really pledge in this life economy that women will have mental peace, that women will have safe spaces, whether it is inside and outside the house? If that is there, then women can play that kind of a leadership role in planning the development of the family first, right? Then of the country, and then at the global level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Prachut, for very insightful actions. I think it was it. This is really, really good actions plan that you speak out there. So next, I would like to invite our guest speaker all the way from Nepal, Mr. Daya Sagata, a chairperson of National Campaign for Sustainable Development.
Thank you so much. Respected panelists here. I just directly go to my points, because of limited time. First, let me introduce my organization. My organization is National Campaign for Sustainable Development. This organization is advocating for inclusive, resilient, just, peaceful, and prosperous sustainable development. And we are also working on environmental issues, and our organization is also coordinating STG National Network Nepal. That is a big platform of civil society organization and development practitioners who are working on the STG agenda. And this organization is also facilitating civil society organization in South Asia. Some of you may know Asia Pacific Regional CSO Engagement Mechanism. That is the big platform of civil society organizations who are working on SDG, and our organization is working as focal organization of South Asia and facilitating and civil societies, and we are also engaging with the UNSCAP on SDG agenda. I just want to directly go to our agenda. Today, in this session, we are talking about the women-led development. I have some agreement with the previous speakers. I don't want to repeat what they have already spoken here. Just some points I want to highlight. I don't elaborate, I don't explain, because very intellectuals, and the friends are here. Just my quick observation based on our experiences and observations of our organization regarding women-led development. First, there should be, there is some gap between the microeconomics and the macroeconomics. So how to, close the gap. That is very important. Most of the economists. I represent civil society organization here, so my voices and my languages could be critical. economics, and most of the economists, they talk, mostly they talk about the macroeconomics. They often forget or they talk about the microeconomics. So my recommendation, the gap should be minimized. And we are talking about the life economy, and if there is no gender equality, that is not sustainable development, right? If there is gap between the men and women and other genders, we cannot say that development is sustainable development, and that is our belief. And we are definitely living in patriarchal society, and when we talk about the women entrepreneurs, definitely the patriarchal setup, the norms and the values of our society, that is the the major barriers for operating the women-led entrepreneurs, particularly in the South Asia, because we know that there is some social expectations with the women, and they also expect some balance between the the business and the family life, and the gender roles, limited mobility, the discriminations. These are some barriers for fostering women-led enterprises. And the next point I want to highlight that in the skills, access to skill, technology, and other, the funds, the finance, these are also the barriers which are to be overcome to improve the women entrepreneurs. And the next point I want to highlight, that there should be the proper systems or the network, the support system to promote the women-led entrepreneurs. And the next issue is the sustainability and the innovation. The sustainability of the enterprises led by women. That is also the the issue we observe. At the next in the next area, I want to highlight some points, and particularly the issues and the challenges related with the care economy. First, we see that there is a deficit in the supply of the quality paid workers in this area. That is despite that in the low salary, lack of benefits, long working hours, these are some issues related with the care economy, and the jobs are built on with the low status, no sense of the job security due to lack of legislation. These are some issues, and the care workers are not defined rightly. That is the another serious issue, particularly in the South Asia region, and this workforce, who are involved in the care economy, they are not organized. They are not organized so that their voices are not heard by the policymakers and the government. And the government, has to what they can do, that they can create identification mechanism. That is very important to provide the social security and other benefits from the governments. And I fully agree to the PALM that there are the 3 R's principles, in the unpaid care work and domestic work. First of all, recognize, our economy, the policy, should recognize the unpaid care works, and the domestic works, and the reduce, that should be reduced, because women have burden on these works. And the redistribution, that is also important, the redistribution of the care work and the domestic work, that is important to address the issue related with the care economy. And the unequal pay, wage gap, these are some issues related with the care economy that is to be addressed. And we did more policy related works in the care economy. I suggest that. And we need to create a safe environment and force the necessary compliance of the adherence to minimize to minimum the wage standard, giving the right value towards the care work, and place more value on even the non-paid work, lead to the equitable division of the work at home, and the bringing sense of order and balance. These are some recommendations from my side. And regarding the women self-help groups, I have few suggestions. Definitely, the self-help group and the women-led cooperatives, they are helping to empower the women in the society. But the influence of the participation is found very effective after the participation in self-help groups. But there is some gaps within the women members. When we see the self-help groups and the women-led cooperatives, we see some gaps within the women. Within the women. But definitely, it is there is this. The difference may be because of the empowerment. That is conceptual, lack of capacity, credit management. The formation of the groups. There are so many issues. I don't want to go deep. And we also need to realize the women's inclusion and active participation in the self-help groups. And regarding the women issues related with the cooperative, I already mentioned that the most of the gender issues, important gender issues in cooperative today is the women's low level of the active participation and the underrepresentation in decision making and the leadership. And the women, especially in the developing countries, they are confronted by the formidable constraints that block their active participation in the cooperatives, and the lack of information about the markets. That is also the issue. The high illiteracy levels. The language problem, information. They don't know about the. They don't have much about information about these things, and the transportation infrastructure. The limited access, transportation services, road infrastructure, quality products. And these are also some issues related with the women-led cooperatives, and the structural and cultural, the constraints, the social norms, and the poor legal rights. These are also some issues. Lack of skill. They do not have adequate access to the training and the access to the education, the experiences. These are also some issues related with the women-led cooperatives on the basis of our organization. Just I want to share about Nepal, from where I'm coming. The security of the saving, the saving money, which is saved by the members. Security of the saving money, legal environment, support investment from the governments and the cooperative sectors. The capacity of the local governments, because in Nepal, the local governments have been made responsible to regulate the cooperatives, but local governments do not have much capacity to support, the cooperatives. That is also an issue. And the access of the poor women in the cooperative organization, that is also the issue. And the sustainability, obviously the sustainability is also the another. So these are some points, issues or the challenges, and what we want to highlight regarding the women-led development practices in our country and in our region. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Daya. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Hyun Hee-ban, the Chief Social Policy from UNICEF.
Thank you very much. I realize we only have a few minutes, so try to cover some points. So I covered social policy and social protection, and as UNICEF, the LiFE economy is such a critical area where, and a few speakers have mentioned the importance of focusing on children. So I'll cover the importance of investing in early years, adolescent girls, young people to drive the transformation and the innovations for the LiFE economy. And as UNICEF, we have been participating in the W20 tracks, the women-led development tracks, including the development working group, the T20 track, with thanks to RIS leadership, where front and center, they continue to put focus on women-led development, and together combining it with child rights. So in a recent T20 Bhopal declaration, on T20, we had a dedicated chapter on children, investing in the early years for future resilience. So I think it was a first of its kind. And why focus on children? We consider as UNICEF, the climate crisis is a child rights crisis. So as an organization in our 5-year strategic plan, climate action, climate change mitigation, and preparedness of climate change impacts for children, women vulnerable, the most vulnerable, is part of our core pillar across our health program, nutrition program, education program, water and sanitation program, and child protection program, and where I cover the social protection program and the overall social policy. And children, as you know, are most vulnerable to the climate change impacts. So we talk about biodiversity loss, we talk about all of the toxic air and soil pollutions, we talk about the climate change impacts, frequency of natural disasters of cyclone, flood, heat waves, drought. And what have we seen? And including the COVID-19 pandemic. Schools were closed, learnings were disrupted. We had issues of gender-based violence on girls and boys. We also had issues of mental health among children and adolescents, and also adults increase. So it's a critical, we would say, a child rights crisis that we need to do something about. And we don't consider children as a burden either, because you have a demographic dividend. It's also a huge demographic opportunity. And if you want to really propel the LiFE economy, if you don't invest in the human capital, especially the early years, you won't be able to achieve much. So this is where I want to focus. I'll just come to the conclusion, the top 3 priorities. So the distinguished panelists have already talked about investing in care economy. So as UNICEF, we take a broader approach. We look at the comprehensive family-friendly policies, including affordable and quality childcare, and as a key pillar of an inclusive social protection system. And we advocate that it has a triple dividend, and I won't go into details. We know that if we actually nurture and protect children in quality, affordable childcare, and parents have parental leave, they're able to exclusively breastfeed, they have maternity benefits, child grants, they actually they improve in their health, their nutrition, education outcomes. But it's also good for adolescent girls, because a lot of the care burden are on the adolescent girls that are caring for their siblings, the elderly, so they are able to stay in schools and continue learning, get the skills. And then third, women go into the workforce. And we know the 50% of the population globally are women. We need to get them into the workforce. And then fourth, it's also good for businesses because they're able to retain top female talent. So we talk about the triple dividend or more than triple dividend focusing on this issue. And then the second piece is, and then we know the multiplier effects. We know that in the 0 to 6 age group, if you invest $1, they have many evidence shows that you get a return up to $16, but more, I would say. And just in a T20 policy brief, we cited an ILO study that says if you invest 2% of the Indian GDP on care, you would actually create 11 million jobs per year. So this is something that has huge potential. And then the second thing, I would say, let's go beyond the care economy. So beyond care economy, focus on care and support. So this is coming from a principle that this is a right, a human rights principle. We do know that children with disability, women with disability, migrants, many people are very vulnerable and they're not able to actually, contribute as actively as possible to the care economy. We need to ensure that their social protection system, social security benefits and support to those while we provide childcare. So this looks at maternity benefit. That we have PMMVY in India. We have the MGNREG, the largest rural public works program that actually has a care creche component. These are something that we need to ensure that is part of the whole care ecosystem. And then third, I would say professionalization of the care worker cadre that the speaker has talked about. We have a lot of opportunity within India. We talked about the self-help group members, the Anganwadi workers. Not only in terms of providing care, they can actually not only be converted in a community-based model, care entrepreneurs, but I would say green entrepreneurs. For example, Angawari workers, they can actually promote and advocate for solarized Angawari centers. They can actually be the ones promoting healthy food choices, nutritious food choices. The self-help group members, the networks, and actually they do Nutri Garden. We can actually promote and give them skills, technology, finance to ensure that they promote millet products that are climate resilient, for example, and the more nutritious. So those are some of the examples. And then, of course, the MGN reg I talked about, directing their activity towards building climate resilient infrastructure like Angawari schools, health facilities. So these are what I would think would really propel the LiFE economy. So let me just summarize into 4 P's. Policies, because without, somebody mentioned financing. We need, the first P is policies. Focus on child care as a core pillar of an inclusive social protection, but it needs to be also financed. So we have things like the gender budget, the child budget, which as UNICEF, we are working closely with the various ministries as a key tool and instrument to ensure that these are invested in and financed. Programs, and I talked about inclusive programs that look at people-centric, human-centric approaches. So I think when we talk about care, we should also look at the social security and the social protection for the most marginalized. And then the third is participation and people, because I think Dr. Nair talked about listen to the people. We have many participatory forums like children's forums, Bal Sabas, Mahila Sabas, the women's participatory forums, where we need to leverage so that voices of children and women are heard when we're driving the LiFE economy. And just to conclude, this year was very, very significant in terms of child rights and women's rights. Last year in the Human Rights Council, they passed a resolution to have the International Day of Care. And that was 29th of October, and it's celebrated for the first time this year. And I think the India G20 presidency had a huge role to advocate strongly for such focus on this. Second, on the Convention on the Rights of the Child, there was a general comment number 26 that was passed. This actually talks about the right of children to clean environment, focus on climate change. So this is really looking at, not only looking at children, the vulnerable children as a burden, they actually need to participate and contribute to the solution going forward. So let me stop here. But thank you once again for RIS and all of this distinguished panelists in the audience. And I hope to be able to interact and learn from you as well. Over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Hun. We have 2 more keynote speakers to go. I know it's time for us to have lunch now, but I would like to hold you for additional 10 minutes. I hope you can bear with us on this. And to our speaker as well, we would like to request you to keep your initial remark to 5 minutes maximum. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Sanjay. She's going to join us from Mumbai. She's a professor from Tara Institute of Social Science.
Good afternoon, all. Shall I just try to share my screen? Is there time for that, or shall I just speak it up?
You can share your screen, but please keep your presentation to 5 minutes.
I'll try to keep myself as brief as I can.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, RIS, for giving me this. Is my screen visible to all of you? Is my screen visible? Yes. Yeah. So thanks. I'd like to thank RIS for giving me this opportunity to present some of my key pointers on gender mainstreaming life economics. Basically, I'd like to argue about how we really align with life economics, a paradigm as we have tried to locate it, and place gender mainstreaming within this. 2 very quick pointers, and not repeating myself from what has been stated by some of the most finest speakers this morning. I think feminist movements have critiqued the long-held belief of the growth-led paradigm as an insufficient indicator of measuring progress, and I think that's where we are all commonly placing ourselves. And at the end of the day, when we want to understand the role of women, certainly the trickle-down framework has failed, and we need to talk about alternate paradigms. We need to be cautious about the failures of the mainstream. Basically, it has failed to recognize the importance of customary practices, prevailing gender relations, and therefore, drawing from the previous speaker, we need to start understanding the role of women, girls, children, and the vulnerable groups. I would like to place vulnerable groups also into this category in trying to see them not only as passive recipients of development, but as active actors and participants who will be part of the transformation process. Now, if we are going to be doing that, what are the key pointers that we need to keep in mind? Uh, there are certain outstanding problems with the life economy would have to be grappling with when we want to streamline our perspectives. One, understand that land rights are in the two sectors, so the entitlement portion is already unequally distributed across men and women in society. Secondly, going quickly to the point, if we talk about green recovery and just transition, clearly the idea of gender just transition is strictly absent in our public dialogue. We need to start talking about where are the just transition policies really placing themselves. More critically, if I look at the 2018 data released by the World Economic Forum, 15.7% of the global environment facility projects have undergone gender analysis, and the rest have been skewed. Out of which, where vulnerabilities are hitting the most, only 3% of the facility funding is going to the small island developing states. So, again, there's a lot of imbalances which need to be kept in mind. As already pointed out by my previous speaker, Pam, ma'am, and Minister Speaker, environment is also unequally distributing and impacting people's lives. So, close to 3.8 million people, most of them women are affected by air pollution, causing unclean energy due to people. Now, India has done some major work in this regard, the Ujjwala Yojana, and things are moving in the right direction, but I think we need to step it up. Most of the paradigms so far have tried to talk about women's roles, but the women's position in sustainable development debate, both academically and in policy corridors, seem to be hiding a lot of crucial points. While human development capabilities are unequally progressing across men and women, we know how there is vast difference in economic indicators, education indicators, and health indicators. Relevantly to keep in mind, I would like to quickly run through some of the key bullets here. Women and environment women's position in terms of preserving environment is the closest. Women are very close in terms of the environment resource access. But in terms of activity, rights and entitlements, they are the secondary status across most countries. And this is part of our book, which I co-authored with Professor Sita Prabhu on human development in an unequal world. And then we also find that the gender division among economic resources are also unequally located. So let's look at what has emerged from the gender social norms index, which captures political, education, economic, and physical integrity. You find that again there are strong biases across most countries, and that bias has to be dealt with. And we need to be very sensitive about the fact that labor market conditions, growth in economic women's progress in education and economic empowerment, these continue to be underlying structural realities in most societies. And women are more skilled and educated than ever before, yet in 59 countries, women are even more educated, but the income gap or the gender gap, which has already been spoken about, favors men. In the book which was released yesterday, in the paper which was written joint with Dan Vance and Professor Sita, we have given a broad framework as to how we operationalize life. And in fact, this is different residents of SDGs. Okay? We need to understand that inclusive growth and just transition are the two central objectives that countries need to be locating. And for that, we talk about SDG 12, which is ensuring sustainable consumption and looking at climate combating policies. All of this would mean that we need to strengthen SDG 17, which is talking about strengthening global partnerships. While this circular flow can be relevant, to understand where women's role position needs to be strengthened, we need gender mainstreaming life economic policies which talks about locating women in each of these paradigms, be it employment opportunity, poverty reduction, and as rightly pointed, universal social protection. This transition, on the other hand, at this point in time, is extremely gender neutral, failing to look at the question of who will nurture the nature. Currently, it's the women, but women don't have rights. Sustainable technology transfer, again, it is gender blind. You really see the disparities in access to technology across men and women. Climate mitigation and adaptation policies in our current study, Uttarakhand, we find that women are completely invisible in the policy when it comes to mitigation aspect adaptation. It is assumed that societies are homogeneous, that they are gender, the binaries seem to be only in terms of facilitating access to select services and not recovery. And therefore, for when we look at the fight which is there for norms of human security, we need to be placing it within the larger idea of where do they become in the life now.
I will turn
Let's
that
look at some of the evidence that has come in recent times. And this has been point
Doc-
two very particularly evidences that have come from the World Economic Forum and the women document 2022.
Dr. Sanya, just
I
what?
won't take 2 minutes. I won't take more than 2 minutes.
Can you do 1 minute, please? Because we have one speaker to go, and it's already time for us as well. 1 minute to go. Thank.
I'm just running over the key messages and I'll share the PPT with you. So we find women have played an important role even during COVID-19 pandemic when it comes to just transition in South Korea, Uganda, Nigeria, Brazil, etc. etc. What are the key messages that need to be kept in mind if we use gender mainstream? One, human capabilities and human agencies are going to be extremely crucial. We cannot skip the capability sets that people have in societies. And I think post-pandemic there has been a sharp drop in the middle and the low income development countries. We need to go back to that. Secondly, we need to link gender development policies with gender foreign policies and the role of multilateralism in which we work in, especially in the last 7 years of the SDGs. Women have been custodians of natural resources, environment, ecology, and ecosystem. Since life emphasizes on the trusteeship dimension, we need to talk about engendering the trusteeship identity, trying to look at the prevailing gender relations in society. Last but not the least, when we talk about environmental social governance system, that is the ESG, which has become so important in terms of strengthening investment, engendering becomes important. We still find only 10 to 12% governance structures, even in multilateral architecture, have women representations. And we know by evidence that representation of women in all these important positions have the stricter norms and climate action plans. Last but not the least, role of state-led policies and role of public policies is going to be extremely crucial if we really need to revitalize life economics. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjan. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Sanjana is a program manager and advocacy lead from Self-Employed Women Association.
Hello everyone. Thank you RIS and the dignified speakers here and the audience here for having me. I know we're at our last minute, so I'll keep myself brief. I am the program coordinator and advocacy lead at Seva Bharat, which is one of the Seva sister organizations that's looking at expanding the Seva movement out of Gujarat. In the context of my work, I work specifically on helping grassroots women-owned enterprises or worker-owned enterprises in strengthening their business models, in improving the women's capacity and leadership capabilities, and reaching market and finance in a way that the current environment doesn't enable. And in that context, we have built what's called a women's enterprise support system, and we strongly advocate for the need of many more such enterprise support systems. I will answer the questions that were supposed to be answered through this session while discussing work, which is what are the innovations or potential solutions that exist in mind, and what are the barriers that come into place. Very quickly, what do women mean to the life economy? I think they are players in all sorts of spaces, but in the context of enterprises and their own enterprises, it basically refers to empowering themselves while they are users, owners, beneficiaries of their own enterprises. And in that accord, there is research to show that they are committed producers, they are responsible consumers, they are reliable borrowers and prudent savers. And we capitalize and we teach them to use and believe in those values for themselves and to use it most to bring them up in mainstream themselves into economy. Now, very quickly, when it comes to such enterprises, a small example I'd like to give is of a collective of women farmers in Uttarakhand. Now, we know that agriculture faces many issues because of climate change and human-wildlife conflict, which is rising in the hilly regions of India. And when they're unable to grow and sustain income through their agrarian activities, what next? And our exploration then is to go like, what else can they do? And in the context of enterprises, it could be exploring the hospitality sector or otherwise. And there's a need for more players to start doing this. Currently, there are a lot of grassroots organizations, NGOs, and a few private players are doing this, but there's a need to keep this in mind, that it must not be profit driven, rather profit oriented, but mission driven. And it's what we do in the West. Very quickly coming to barriers and the solutions that should come into place. So when it comes to capacity of women, there's a lot been said, but women need to be trained, and their capacity, more than trained, they need to be reminded that they have to believe in themselves, that they can lead, because I think the way society is constructed and has operated for many years, they tend to forget that. But we have seen over years, we are able to build amazingly resilient grassroots leaders. Constant reminder of that, and some capacity building towards taking board responsibilities for their own enterprises. At the same time, the enterprise, business and startup ecosystem is very quick paced. It's moving far too rapidly for women in the grassroots or women in the informal economy. There is a need for NGOs, grassroots organizations and like-minded private players to come in to build business capacities in terms of operations for these women. A lot has been said about finance and markets, but in terms of financing, what we realize, not only is documentation an issue and there's a need for proxy of collateral, but there's also a need to look at loans that are taken or credit that's taken by women or women-owned enterprises through a different assessment criteria. You can't, and I believe Mandeshi Foundation has done some work and has applied and created a new framework or an index for assessing grassroots women's capabilities and their assessment for such. There's also a need to start looking at different and innovative credit underwriting models to make sure that what research shows, which is women, when they borrow, they will repay, is something that trickles down even when it comes to investors who are looking to support women in their entrepreneurial activities. Obviously, the same range, OCEN, which is the open the open network for credit enablement network is also something that's yet to be explored, but I don't believe that works for women in the informal economy because digitalization is barely touched or entered into their realm of space. But nonetheless, as use case studies are happening, there's a need to start working more with women in the grassroots, in the informal economy, to see how you can take credit institutions, help them make digital or non-digital products or Fiji digital products, which can then reach them and service them as well. I believe another very important piece that's come out, and without which I don't think financial institutions can truly ever reach women-owned enterprises in the informal economy or the grassroots, is the need for bridge institutions. It could be the likes of grassroots organizations or state rural livelihood missions or many other organizations that are embedded in the community, interact with the women in the community, understand their financial credit needs, develop products for those needs, and then cater to them. We have a few within the Seva family, and I know of many others outside. There's a need to study these institutions well, because these institutions do two things. They have very simply, they look at credit unwilling, credit unready, and credit ready women or enterprises, and they help them grow through the scale. So they build credit willing and credit ready enterprises, which I think is a big need, because you'll meet a lot of financial institutions who'll say, we're ready to give loans. Where are the women? Who's asking? That's not true. There is a lot of capacity building that needs to happen in this space. There are business models that are looking to be, and I'm talking about worker-owned models. There are obviously sustenance-based entrepreneurs. There are self-employed women who also have different formats of financing, but there's a need to understand them and cater to them specifically. Very quickly to wrap up, last 2 points, but there are a lot of regulatory and policy challenges and changes that need to come into place to enable the growth of such enterprises and to put women, especially women workers, at the front and center of their decision making, and in the context of life economy for sustainable and sustainable production consumption. And there have to be more players who are advocating for the needs and the challenges that these enterprises face, sector by sector, ministry by ministry, scheme by scheme. One small initiative I think Niti Aayog has taken has started the Financing Women Collaborative. This is a mix of both, where it's trying to understand the financial difficulties that women enterprises in the grassroots face, convert that into data that can then be taken to the financial ministry and advocate for the change, that there is a problem here. And it's a gap, because we do recognize, and I think there's enough written about the missing middle in terms of financing. for enterprises, but now it's high time we actually convert it into action. So more such initiatives, maybe larger congregations and coalitions come into place that push for these changes. And obviously, last but not the least, but when you have so much digital transformation happening in the place, and India has shown, is a pioneer in so many ways in terms of its financial transformation, but just very quickly, we have the open network of digital commerce coming up. And I do believe they're working on use case studies, again, on how to work with farmer producer organization, other kind of cooperatives. People are looking at digitalization of cooperatives. But we very quickly forget that women do not have access to digital assets or use the internet the way most of the country is using. Data shows that 26% of women have access to smartphones in comparison to 49% men. And 30% of those women use the internet compared to 51% of men. But most of that data does not even look at women who are maybe having to still rely on cash economy, not yet mainstreamed. So as we work in this space to push for digital innovations, to realize that not all digital transformation will include women, and to be more inclusive in our way of how to design technology and digital assets or digital programs to make sure that women walk along with them. And more importantly, if you're working with women, the one thing I take away from my experience of being a part of the Seva movement is not everything has to work at scale. Sometimes hyperlocal solutions are imperative for the success and the growth and the development of everyone, including women and their communities, and everyone they look to support. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Satana. Thank you to all our keynote speakers that have shared very insightful the challenges and also the insight on what are the action we should take as well to the next step. I'm going to give the floor back to our audience, and I would like to give either one of you, it's not a question, I would like to give one of you can share your reflections on what our speaker have mentioned, and then just to wrap this up. So I'm going to give this to our
what I wrote down, most of the speakers have already spoken. One thing which I like to emphasize here is that our approach to women-led development, basically like being in the part, I'm not an economist, but from being a family of women studies, I feel that it's more or less welfare-based approach. Instead, it should be right-based approach, and that can make a change. And also, like, there needs to be some sort of paradigm shift in the understanding of concept of care, which is very much women-centric. So it should be, instead of, when we talk about care, it should be about parenting, not just mothering. And one more thing, like, which I felt was missed out, safe and dignified workplace, which is very important. And also taking into consideration, even though Seva has talked about it, but let us be very specific, like what about the women in the unorganized sector? So where women represent more than 80%, so that is another area which will really change, can be a game changer. And also one point which I would like to emphasize is that when we talk about women-led movement and when we create jobs, so those jobs again create some sort of exploitative jobs for women. For example, for which it is creating lots of disturbances in the entire northeastern region where women are trafficked for different, and that's some sort of exploitation which happens in the Southeast Asian countries. So how this development also leads to development in the other way, but not create some sort of jobs which are exploitative in nature. In a nutshell, thank you so much.
Thank you. I wish I could give everyone the time to share, but our time is up, so I would like to take this moment to wrap up the whole activity of the Action Lab. If we have the lunch served at downstairs, and you are supposed to come back to the main hall at what time? At 2:30. 2:30. So now we eat up almost half of your lunch time. So I would like to invite you all to go and have lunch at the downstairs when we walk in. Thank you.